Good morning, everybody. It is Cowboy, and it is 8:30 a.m. EST. And today is setting up to be pretty interesting. Not seeing a lot of volatility in the charts just yet. And I think it might be a quiet day in the charts until the FOMC data comes out, right? So we have the FOMC minutes today, right? We'll talk a little bit about that, why that matters. We'll take a brief look here. I think USDJPY might be the first to get the axe, or at least take a hit on this, because these types of announcements have a much heavier effect on the FX market, the forex market, than anything else. These decisions and data that come from the Federal Reserve have to do with how money is being spent and how money is being valued. Like, what is the cost of borrowing? And when you're talking about the cost of borrowing money, the cost of money, then forex markets are the ones that move the most. And this is why I trade forex primarily. There's just a lot of opportunities in that. So, what do I think is going to happen? Well, let's just say that the FOMC minutes give us some kind of hint that we're going to see interest rate cuts, right? Let's just say, oh, yeah, we're going to see a cut in interest rates. Well, that means that money, dollars will get cheaper, and this would potentially head down this way. Now, it's kind of tricky with the USDJPY because it's heavily affected by the stock market. So, meaning that the Japanese yen, because of the nature of it being the carry trade, and you can look that up. We're not going to cover that too much right now. It's just a liquidity source essentially um, uh, for the international equities markets, right? So when the dollar gets cheap, equities markets do well, money flows out of the yen as well, essentially to go through a path of other currencies and bonds into the equities market. So the yen itself might also get weak, but I think this news affecting the dollar will cause a hard spike down if it is a dollar weak scenario. Now, if there are no clues or clues that we're not going to cut or even hike, it would have the opposite direction. So we don't really know what's going to happen. But what we do know is that in the chart here, there has been a very strong extension to the upside. And a lot of times, these news events are used as carte blanche to just mess with the price, to just cause a major move. Now, whether or not they can afford to push price down, because they may be able to, may not. I don't know what the deal is. No one knows except for the masters of the universe. It would make an awful lot of sense because we have a pretty solid kind of range pattern in this area, and that move would be right there. It would make a lot of sense to see that happen. So what I would do is I'd watch the FOMC minutes, see what the data is, wait at least a few minutes for the market jitters, the moving up, the moving down, and the whipsaw, and then all the stuff they do to kind of mess with people and knock them out of their trades. I'd wait for that to end. And if in fact it's a dollar week scenario, it's a we might cut soon type scenario, anything like that, anything that kind of talks about how interest rates might be a little too high, or we have enough data to where we're considering not keeping rates where they are, like, some kind of weird dovish talk, this might sprout down. So it might be a nice trade to take, but you're going to have to watch out for that, right? Now, how would that affect the NASDAQ? Probably would go up. And the NASDAQ itself has been rotating at the top of this little range that it's not a very clean range, but it's a range. And usually with ranges, what you see, and we're going to get to Bitcoin next, so, stand by for that. With these ranges, as price rotates like this, if it starts to kind of do this, even with the fake out breakout like you see below like that, but if it rotates at the top of a range like this and it gets tighter and tighter, that's a clue that it's probably going to break to the upside. Okay, so understanding that, we could see new all-time highs in the NASDAQ today. FOMC minutes, unless it's a big surprise, a new all-time high of the NASDAQ is not that big of a deal in a sense because the all-time high is right here. So it wouldn't take much to push price past that. Not in the big scheme of things. When you look at the entire history and how much price can move in a day and all that, it's not a very big, it's a big move, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. And a lot of times when you get an all-time high, you get some FOMO. You saw how here last week that move really, really crushed upwards, and then it sold off, and the tariff and news calmed it down. And so the FOMC is the big news ticket this week. You have to keep an eye on that as well. Now, how might this affect Bitcoin? Let's take a look. Bitcoin itself, okay, finally starting to show a little bit of life. It was getting real quiet yesterday. High time frame on Bitcoin is always bullish. And right now it's remaining bullish. And the fact that it's withstanding some downward pressure and heading to the top of this range is pretty much the same thing that we just talked about with the NASDAQ. You've got a range that's decently established. There's a little bit of kind of flaggishness in there. It's just, you got some sort of lower lows and lower highs right here. And it did technically just print a lower high. So I'm not counting on it going up just yet, right? This lower high that it printed technically, I mean, it's I don't know if that's a lower high. Let's look really close. Let's see if this, yeah, technically this high right here on Bitcoin is just a hair lower than there. That's a hair lower. I don't know that I would call, I mean, technically it's a lower high, but I don't know if I would treat it that way functionally. And as long as price in this range continues to kind of rotate in here, especially if the lows get higher and higher like this, I would expect a breakout. And if we get a breakout, then we're possibly going to go ahead and challenge the all-time highs here. Now, the FOMC minutes, if they are very dovish, that could cause this to break out. Usually in the summertime, Bitcoin slows down. There's not a lot going on in the summertime. But I would say, this is a different year. We have a lot of different pressures. The world is a very different place than it used to be. And the crypto market is a very different place than it used to be. Now, I don't like to try to say bet on new things happening. I tend to use old price action, old bull market patterns as a framework. And that framework would say that things calm down over the summer and they go up in the fall. But you know what? Our framework also said that you don't get an all-time high before the halving, and we did. And I was wrong about that. So, using past data is what we do as data analysts. But the problem with that is that there have only been 4 halvings. We don't have 200 halvings under relatively stable market conditions where we can say, hey, this is how it goes. We have just a handful of data points under extremely quickly evolving extremely quickly evolving market conditions. And because of that, the data on which we rely is questionable. We can use it as sort of a heuristic, but I would, at this point, I wouldn't doubt that anything could happen. So that said, right now, based on what I'm seeing in the charts, just for the short term, I would expect price to go ahead and head up just to the top of the range here. It may or may not. It might stop right here, but I think it'll head up to 110. Let me take a brief look at the algos. From what I saw a moment ago, I think we'll at least see 110. We'll see. The problem is that even though everything is bullish in the high time frame, a lot of stuff is kind of burned out as well. Technically, it's bullish, but it's bullish and slowing down. So either it's going to kind of fizzle out where it is and head down, but the higher each of these, let me expand this a little bit. The higher each of these resistances go, the more likely it is to fizzle unless it catches momentum. If you see momentum catch on, then it'll just plow through. And you'll know it. You'll see it in the volume and you'll see it in the charts. But until that time, there's a decent chance it's just going to kind of either head up here and slow down a little bit, or it might break up to here and then slow down a little bit. If it breaks out of 110, though, a lot of people will get excited and momentum may catch on. So, I mean, hey, FOMC minutes, I wouldn't take any serious trades until that's out. That happens again today at 2 p.m. EST. Okay, so I'll be watching that. It's a little bit late in the day for me to take any meaningful positions in anything because the market closes not long after that. I might scalp it. I might just leave it alone. I'll probably be scalping it. It's kind of what I do. So if that's the case, though, stay tuned. If you're in Algo Factory, there's a couple things going on. First of all, if you're not in Algo Factory, you get the free algo, right? Just go to the link in the description, get your free algo. You'll just give us a real name, fake name. We don't care. Give us your email. And then what we'll do is you'll immediately have access to a video explaining how to build it and how it works. And it's very simple and it shouldn't take you more than a few minutes to do if you have any idea how to use TradingView. If you want to know how to use TradingView, let me know. Maybe I'll do a tutorial. The video is kind of a tutorial anyway on using TradingView. So it's built in, but if you're an extreme beginner and you're interested in that, I am looking to build some new content. If you want to see something like that, send a request and I will put that in my list of videos to do. For the meantime, we're going to head over to Algo Factory now. We're going to go into the private live lab. We go for another for the rest of the hour. So we go until 9:30 a.m. EST. We go to right about the market open. We answer questions. We cover a lot of geopolitics and stuff in there, a lot of things that we simply don't cover live just because a lot of it is a bit privileged. Like we don't do any insider trading, nothing illegal, but the kind of info that we give out in there can only be given to a small amount of people, right? We can't just give that out. But if you want to be at Algo Factory, come on over. You could get the free algo. That'll put you on a list where you'll get some info on how to join us. Go to algofactory.tech. You see it in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, like right here. It's right there, algofactory.tech. You can go there. Send me an email if you have any questions, or just send a message through there. Hope to see you in algofactory.tech. We'll see you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. EST, bright and early. Thank you for watching, and never forget.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. It's just a joke. You're not going to die. We love you. See you next time.